How's it going, everybody? Continuing on in Revelation. Therefore, rejoice, ye heavens, that ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he know that he had but a short time. And I do believe now we're talking about living inside the book of Revelation, which is why this is in the book of Revelation. And hang on just a second. I'm messaging back and forth with a friend. Anyway, but he had but a short time. Yeah, Book of Revelation. And when the dragon saw that he was cast down to the earth, he persecuted the woman. So this is, I think this is when Satan possesses the body, which I'm just making up, you know, a call. I'm not dogmatic about that as far as biblical truth, 100% sure. But I think once Satan possesses the body, of the Antichrist, that this is the parallel, because we know that Revelation begins with, for the time is short. Because once this book is opened, it's just a very short time, and we're done. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder if I'm alive, if I have the privilege of being alive. Maybe it won't be a privilege. So let's just say if I'm alive, when that right eye wound occurs, um, what kind of feeling is going to run through my body, knowing that this whole existence has but a short time? Enough time to get through World War III with war, famine, and pestilence, and then then the abomination of desolation that opens the Great Tribulation up for us. And that's 3.5 days. And then we're looking at God's wrath, which I think covers a pretty good span of time. So, yeah, yikes. Um, but he had but a short time. And so when he comes down to the earth, or when it was to the woman again, what am I at? Okay. Well, when you inhabitants of the earth, and this devil has come down to you having great wrath, I think this is when Satan's possessing the body, because he know that he have but a short time. Revelation 1, King James Version, Bible Gateway. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto Jesus to show unto his servants, John and us, things which must shortly come to pass. But he had but a short time. And we know this all comes in our reality for us in real time at Revelation 6:1, 6:2. The right eye wound crowning, the four horses. That's what kicks all of this off for us to understand it in. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, of course, he's now possessing Trump's body, or whoever the Antichrist is. He persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. So at this point, the church begins going through tribulation, but then it's not the great tribulation until it's the abomination of desolation. Persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. And to the woman were given wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness. So again, the church is protected, that end times church, that 144,000, see previous study, into her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. And that's the 3.5 days of the Great Tribulation that we saw in uh, Revelation 11, where the two witnesses, of course, are the church. And if my friend is watching, understand you don't, um, necessarily believe that to be true. You're open to it, but you lean more towards that it's Elijah and Moses and so on and so forth, which a lot of people do. Uh, the two witnesses are Elijah and Moses. Many Bible readers believe Moses and Elijah are the two end times witnesses in Revelation 11 because of their matching miraculous powers, their connection to Old Testament law and prophecy, and their appearance with Jesus in Transfiguration. However, the text does not explicitly name them, leading others to common theories like Enoch and Elijah or symbolic meanings. The two witnesses of Revelation 11 are the church. The view that the two witnesses of Revelation symbolize the church is well known in historical symbolic interpretation. This perspective connects the text description of the two lampstands to Revelation 1:20, which explicitly defines the lampstand as churches representing the collective and faithful witnesses of God and his people on the earth. Of course, there's 5 comparisons to the church and the two witnesses, both represented by olive trees, both represented by candlesticks, both persecuted by the Antichrist. At the end of the persecution, there's a great earthquake. At the end of the persecution, they're both caught up to Jesus in the clouds. So that's 5 coincidences. But no matter, teach their own. Trust your gut. Let God be true and every man a liar. Take everything I tell you to prayer. The way the two witnesses do things, it only says they have power to. It doesn't say that they do any of those things, like shut heaven and earth, and it's they have power to because they have the Holy Spirit, and it's the Holy Spirit that has the actual power to shut heaven and earth, that it rain not, or to So anyway, it's a lot of abstract, metaphoric, figurative speech, and I think people look too closely to it as a literal. So anyway, and hang on just a quick second. Anyway, when the dragon saw that he was cast to the earth, persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. Flying to the wilderness. We went over that. Nourished 4 times. Yep, 3.5 days. Per Revelation 11 is 3.5 days. Because Jesus had to cut those days short. What days? Well, the only days mentioned, when Jesus said, "Lest I cut those days short," my first question would be, what days? Well, the Great Tribulation days. Cut them short mathematically. In other words, cut the number of them short. Well, was there a number given? Yes. 42 months, 1,260 days, or 3.5 years. Cut short to 3.5 days. 3.5 years to 3.5 days. It's very symbolic. You'll have to ask the Lord why he did it that way. But we are told in Revelation 11 that the church, and in my opinion, we know that it has to be the church because it talks about before the Antichrist, there's 3.5 years of this prophecy. Well, that means Elijah and Moses would have to be prophesying literally for the whole world to see for 3.5 years. And we know that that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, and I was just sharing with my friend about that 3.5 days, that if it's, again, we went over it the other day, but if it's a literal 2 humans like Elijah and Moses, just think 3.5 years before the Antichrist rises or until Satan possesses the body, which is the white horse crowning or rising Bible verse. that for 3.5 years before he rises, and I think he's rising August 27th. Could be wrong, but that's 2 days after what I think is the right eye wound, August 25th. Now, if that ends up being in October or November or, into 2020, whatever, remember, for 3.5 years, if you're taking this literal, that it's two people, that 3.5 years before this right eye wound and subsequent rising on the third day with Satan possessing the body, that 3.5 years prior to that, Elijah and Moses are in sackcloth in Israel, prophesying. And fire's proceeding out of their mouth, and they're shutting heaven and earth that it doesn't rain for 3.5 years. Well, again, like I've said many, many times, it just says they have power to do these things. And it says, if any man hurt them, fire proceed. It's abstract metaphoric speech. It's not literal that this is going, like these humans are going to be like dragons. You know what I'm saying? For 3.5 years before the antichrist. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just very simple and easy. But let God be true and every man a liar. Take everything I tell you to prayer. Um, so fly into the wilderness, prepared for a time and half biding a time. It's the 3.5 days of the Great Tribulation. From the face of the serpent, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. The remnant, the 144,000, like we talked about earlier. See yesterday's study, see the Saturday study. And so over to Matthew. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us your oil, for our lamps are gone out. And the wise, representing the sheep, answered, saying, not so, lest there not be enough for us. So again, the light of the world, the church, the lampstands, giving light, which is Jesus giving his truth, be not enough for us, but go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. So in other words, go get your own. And they can't really get it unless the Holy Spirit baptizes them with it, can they? And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Now, a lot of people say these different things have to do with a pre-tribulation rapture. One in the field, one is taken away. I don't believe in a pre-trib rapture. And people might say, well, then how do you explain what this is here? That one in the field and one is taken. Is that during the Great Tribulation when people are running for their lives and one in the field and one is, I think it's abstract figurative speech, just like Revelation has 40, 70%, 50%, 30%, but a lot of abstract figurative speech. I think in this particular case, since this Matthew 24 is the end times, I think it is parallel to also having abstract figurative speech. Afterward came also other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open unto us. And he answered and said, verily I say unto you, I know you not. That goes back to Matthew 7. I never knew you. Watch therefore, for ye neither the day nor the hour wherein Son of Man cometh. And that also has to do with your own life. You can be hit by a bus, and then so you're asleep, and then when you awake, you have what? You're raised to judgment. and you want to be on the proper side of that judgment. Watch therefore, for ye neither know the day nor the hour when the Son of Man cometh. For the kingdom of heaven is like, so it's talking about salvation. It's just talking about the kingdom of heaven overall. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling into a far country, who has called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another one. He gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. Yeah, 5, 2, and 1. To every man according to his ability. And they then went with these talents. And the one that received 5 went and traded with the same and made them another 5 talents. So he doubled. And likewise, he that received 2, he also gained another 2. So he doubled. But he that had received 1 went and digged it into the earth and hid the Lord's money. This would be equivalent to like people that believe in Jesus, but they don't really ever do anything with it. They're not in truth. They celebrate pagan Christmas, pagan Easter, believe in man's free will decisions. So they're doing nothing with this belief. That's my best parallel to what this is about. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. I love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.